Okay, I'm going to go ahead and start recording. And Elmer, can we go ahead and start live streaming?
Okay, sure.
Fantastic. Okay, great. I'm going to go ahead and get started. So thank you so much, everyone, for joining us today. This is our second live information session for the 2022 UN Women Asia-Pacific WEPs Awards. My name is Amy Baum, and I'm a consultant with UN Women's Regional Office for Asia and the Pacific, and I lead the WEPs Awards at the regional level. And you're going to hear all about it. So in this information session today, we're kind of going to walk you through the WEPs Awards, a bit about why they started, how they started, all of the application process and the eligibility, and then also answer any questions you have. So please feel free to go ahead and put any questions you have in the chat, and I'll make sure that I keep checking it throughout to get to them, but we will have some time at the end. And as I said before, just for those of us who might be joining us, if you can't see the screen correctly at any time, just send a quick message in the chat and I'll make sure we fix it. Okay, here we go. So just to give a bit of background to what the WEPs Awards are and why they started. So I'm working with a UN Women program called We Empower Asia. And so We Empower Asia is a joint program with the European Union and UN Women, which is basically to get more women to participate and lead in business and in the private sector. And this spans everything from micro enterprises, individual entrepreneurs, SMEs, to large corporates. And we implement in mainly 7 countries in the Asia-Pacific: China, India, Indonesia, Myanmar, or Malaysia, the Philippines, Thailand, and Vietnam. And this is really a unique program for UN Women, that we strongly engage the private sector in our approach to women's economic empowerment. And one of the main vehicles that we have to drive this approach when we work with businesses is called the Women's Empowerment Principles, or the WEPs, which are the parent of the WEPs Awards, and which you'll hear a lot about. And so the Women's Empowerment Principles were launched in 2010, so they're 12 years old, by UN Women and UN Global Compact, is a set of 7 principles that could guide businesses to become gender responsive across their value chain. So this is really kind of the unique and niche aspect of the WEPs that is so valuable. Let me go back a slide. Okay, I don't have the slide here, but with the WEPs, we always kind of visualize the value chain approach, and that it starts with principle 1, with corporate leaderships and making corporate commitments to gender equality and women's empowerment. It goes down into the workplace and looking at how you're creating equal opportunities for equal advancement, as well as providing safe and productive workplaces for both men and women and people of all genders, and then also moving into the marketplace. So looking at your supply practices, your procurement practices, also at your marketing and advertising practices, down into the community and how you're working with community partners, or also how you're advocating within your peer community and within your industry to advocate for change for gender equality. And this is all strongly undergirded by a focus on measurement and reporting. So measuring and tracking your progress against key indicators, which we do have a framework for. And then also we encourage everyone to report publicly and report transparently to the public of their progress on the WEPs. So the WEPs is a global platform, and any business, whether it's a micro enterprise or a large corporate, can become a signatory to the WEPs. And the way this process works is that the CEO or the person with the highest decision-making authority signs a statement of support, committing to the WEPs, and then you submit an application and join the global platform. There's no financial or reporting commitment to join the WEPs. And it really is a commitment to aspire to live these principles throughout your organization. We understand that not even the most progressive corporates are implementing all 7 principles all equally. It's a journey that everyone takes, and everyone starts at a different point. But any private sector entity is eligible to join the WEPs. We have over 6,500 companies globally that have committed, and there's almost 2,000 in the Asia Pacific. And I'll talk a little bit more about this later and why you join and how you join. But the WEPs is really what inspired the WEPs Awards. So the WEPs Awards were born in 2020, and so they're really the only regional awards initiative we have that recognizes private sector action for gender equality aligned and in the spirit of the women's empowerment principles. So they're for any private sector organization in the Asia-Pacific. And what we do, they're open to any country in the Asia-Pacific. I'll tell you a bit more about this. But because our UN Women program specifically implements in 7 specific countries, we have national processes that take place in those 7 countries, and we have national level awards, and those all lead up to a bigger regional awards process and ceremony that will be celebrated in November this year at the regional level. And applications are open now through June 30th. There's still 6 weeks left to apply. There's plenty of time. I'm going to tell you all about it. I already see one question in the chat. That's great, and I'll answer the question later. I'll get to it. It's a great question. But one other thing that we're very happy about, I'm thrilled with this year with the WEPs Awards that I do just want to mention. We're very grateful to have had this launched with the support of the European Union that drove this in 2020. We've received over 1,000 applications total in the past 2 cycles. And last year we had the official support and partnership of Investing in Women, which is an initiative of the Australian government that supports businesses to become more gender responsive and also gender smart financing and changing social norms in 4 different countries in Southeast Asia. And we're very happy this year to also have the continued partnership of Australia, the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade, supporting the initiative so that we can still continue to bring it to everyone and celebrate and recognize all the businesses doing some of this great work. Okay, on to some of the details. So a few key dates just to give you a bit more information about the timeline. Applications are open now through June 30th. And then what we do is we start a shortlisting process. We review the applications and do an internal shortlisting process at first. So in about mid-August, we'll notify all of the shortlisted applicants. And then those that are shortlisted actually go through a judging process by an external panel of judges that we work with that are all experts in the subject area. And then in October, we'll have national level awards in those 7 select countries. But everyone will be eligible for awarding at the regional ceremony. And we're tacking this in for November 17th. And hopefully we'll be able to stick to that date. Okay, so our categories. As you can see, the categories, these colors here kind of represent the value chain approach and the different WEPs principles. So it follows this kind of value chain approach where we start with leadership commitment. We also celebrate youth leadership as one of the special categories. We have a category in gender inclusive workplace, and then we go a bit deeper into the value chain, into marketplace. And then we have one on community engagement and partnerships. And then finally, a new award, our category that we launched last year on transparency and reporting that we're quite excited to have. And just one note on kind of the actual awarding. So for each of these 6 categories, there's a top winner, a first runner-up, and a second runner-up. And then what we also do, we introduced this special award last year. That's our SME Champions Award. So an SME can apply for and be awarded in any category. We often see SMEs win. We've seen them in multiple categories, from leadership commitment to marketplace. But because in our application process, we do also ask for a company's internal policies and practices, we found that a lot of the SMEs in our region that we know are really driving a lot of the economic development are really doing great work with women, but may not have all the internal infrastructure in place yet. And so what we do when they apply in these categories is when we see these smaller organizations that still aren't quite there, we put them in a specific pool and make sure that they're just competing kind of against themselves in that category. So we're doing this so that it's more inclusive, so that we're not disadvantaging the smaller organizations that can't compete with those that are more established or coming from larger corporates. So lots of opportunities to be awarded. That's the good news. I'm going to explain a little bit more about the categories now, so a little bit more detail. And I'm getting some good questions already, which I'm taking note of, and I'll make sure I come back to them later. Okay, so leadership commitment. This is an individual award. This would go recognize an individual, and it could be a micro-organization or even an individual entrepreneur. And this is both men and women or people of any gender are eligible to win this award. This is not just a women's award. And really the main criteria for this award is we're not looking for just a strong woman or man leader. We're looking for someone whose leadership has been committed to gender equality and women's empowerment. So someone that has made strong commitments in their organization for setting corporate commitments and targets for gender equality, or a leader that's strongly working with and supporting women. It could be internal or external public commitments or messaging, or appearing on panels and advocating for industry, for change in the industry. And this is a leader 35 years and older. So just to clarify fully, maybe just based on the comment I saw, if there's like a very amazing young female leader, but potentially she's only in a space that's not targeting gender equality, it's fantastic work, but it's probably not quite for this award. We do want to make sure that the leadership is directed towards supporting women's empowerment. And this is most likely going to be a CEO or a strong leader or a founder. And then coming to kind of the flip side of that, we have a youth leadership award, which recognizes people who are under the age of 35 at the time of applying. And so this is going to young leaders that are demonstrating commitment to gender equality. And one of the really unique things about this award that I really love is that this can go to any young person. It doesn't have to be a founder or a CEO. This could even be a young person within a larger corporate that really took steps to initiate something on their team or within their department to really make a difference. So any kind of young person taking action to create some movement for gender equality within that larger private sector organization. Okay, gender inclusive workplace. So going a little bit more down the value chain, this is where we see actually most companies who join the WEPs, this is where we see they often start their journey of approaching gender equality. And for a good reason, there's 3 principles dedicated to workplace in the WEPs, principle 2, 3, and 4. And applications for this category could run a wide range of different initiatives. These bullet points are different things that could have been done. We're not expecting you to hit every single point. So a company could apply for a very strong policy they have for equal recruitment and pay, or maybe they revamped in a specific unit to make sure that more women were being hired in non-traditional roles. So they set up a very strong, recruitment, hiring, interviewing process to ensure that it was gender neutral or that it got rid of bias. The website landing page, oh no, oh my gosh, oh goodness. I'm so sorry. Someone just said they're seeing the website landing page. Thank you for letting me know. Let me stop sharing for just a minute and start again. I'm so sorry about that. Oh dear. Oh, I'm sorry about that, but thank you for alerting me. But don't worry, we'll be sharing all the slides. Okay, now you're seeing gender responsive workplace. Just double check first before I keep going. Yes, you're seeing the PowerPoint? Okay, yes. Oh, I'm sorry about that. Okay, but we'll be sharing the slides, don't worry. Yeah, so I was just kind of presenting the different categories. So gender inclusive workplace. So this can include lots of different things, flexible working arrangements. If you have enhanced work from home policies that you initiated during COVID, this could be supporting women and men with childcare responsibilities at home or to share the burden of childcare more equally, taking extra safety measures to guarantee the safety and well-being of women at work. Also a component on training and development. Maybe you have a really strong women's leadership and mentorship program that you take. This could also be included. It's really a wide range of initiatives that could be included in this category. Okay, gender responsive marketplace. So going a bit deeper into the value chain. I kind of see this category as kind of a two-pronged category. So on the one hand, it's kind of looking at your actual marketplace where you're supplying from and procuring from. And this is looking at things like, do you have any initiatives on gender responsive procurement to try and buy from more women-owned businesses? Or even enhancing your codes of conduct for your suppliers to make sure that your suppliers are gender responsive and that you're buying from suppliers that commit to gender equality. This could also be initiatives or support to women entrepreneurs in the supply chain or in the community. And the other piece of this is marketing and advertising practices, so that you're actually looking to kind of unstereotype and trying to make sure that you're portraying gender inclusive and gender responsive advertising when you're marketing your products. And we see a lot of really interesting applications come through each year in this category for really kind of innovative marketing campaigns. Okay, community engagement and partnerships, our fifth category. So again, kind of covers a broad range of things. And in the community level, this can be anything from partnering with NGOs or local governments or other private sector organizations in the community to start initiatives. What we're really looking for when we look for community initiatives is to see that the company hasn't just kind of donated funds for another organization to implement an initiative, but has really taken steps to co-create it and really be involved in it. Okay, let me go back for just a second because someone asked a clarifying question. I think it would just be helpful to answer it now. She said, can you please clarify again that the first and second categories need an individual contribution and not the company's commitment and youth development policies as a whole? Yeah, so these first two categories, leadership and youth leadership, they do go to the individual and not to the organization's approach to kind of youth development policies or other policies. If the leader had a very strong commitment that they wanted the organization to, if the organization's mandate is really working with youth and the leader had been a key person driving that agenda, then you could apply under the leadership category initiative. But if it relates to support for youth development, if it was something that you were doing in the local community, perhaps, or education, that would fall into the community category. Then the organization would want to apply in the community category. I hope that clarifies. So yeah, the first two awards go to individuals, and then all the rest go to organizations. So not only looking to community activities, but also to corporates who are taking part in multi-stakeholder platforms to advocate and create change within industries. So a great example of this is the Unstereotype Alliance, where companies come together to promote gender responsive marketing and advertising practices. And we have also seen other companies taking great steps to create industry-wide change and forming transformative partnerships as well. Another example that comes to mind are other corporates that have taken done strong research projects where they've partnered with quite a few different entities to undertake research that further help them in their work. And that could also fall under this category. And then the last one, which is often somewhat, I think, elusive to some corporates, is transparency and reporting. And it was a new category that we introduced last year, and we really hope to mobilize more momentum around it this year. So it's transparency and reporting. So private sector champions that are promoting equality through their transparency and reporting initiatives, and this can be quite broad. So this could be kind of enhanced gender reporting in ESG or sustainability reports, where you're really going above and beyond to report on several different gender indicators. This could even be something like conducting a company-wide gender audit or an analysis of the pay gaps, for example, in your company, and really kind of expanding across the board where the pay gaps are in which different units at which different times. Also looking at the pay gap and how pay tracks over the life cycle of employees, and really setting up an action plan and metrics to then be able to change that and close the gap. Even if this isn't publicly reported, this could still be an initiative that we would want to celebrate. And also advocating across the industry to advance reporting. This is a category where the WEPs is also eligible, and I'll get to it in a second, to stock exchanges as well. And so this would be a particularly strong category where if a stock exchange had taken steps to try and encourage listed companies to report more on gender data, where we would want to celebrate them. Okay, a bit more on who should apply. Just gonna let someone else into the waiting room, and let me make sure I didn't miss. Okay, I see someone else asked a question that I'll make sure I get to. I just wanted to check. Okay. So who should apply? The WEPs Awards is for everyone in business. So it's aligned to the Women's Empowerment Principles, and the WEPs are only open to private sector companies. So unfortunately, it's not open to nonprofits or philanthropies or foundations. There does need to be a business aspect. We can accept social enterprises. Also, stock exchanges, industry associations, and chambers of commerce are eligible, but unfortunately not kind of informal initiatives or nonprofits. But all companies that are either registered or operating in the Asia-Pacific can register. And also for the Leadership Awards, I saw someone ask this earlier, all nationalities are welcome to apply for the Leadership Award. So the CEO can be based in Belgium, and then the company operates in Thailand, and they could still be awarded for Thailand. So that's okay. And then another key piece is that you don't need to be a WEP signatory to apply. If this is the first time you've ever heard of the WEPs, or even if you are a WEP signatory, but you're just starting out on your journey, that's totally fine. We really encourage everyone to apply. And we've had a lot of awardees who did not know about the WEPs, and they didn't think they were doing enough on gender, but someone really encouraged them to apply, and they did, and they ended up winning. And then they've joined the WEPs community since then. So in order to be awarded, you have to become a signatory, but when we send out the short list, we notify you that you've been shortlisted, and then we ask that you then become a signatory before you can proceed to the final stage of judging. I think, okay, I'll answer another question right now on eligibility, because it is a question that comes up quite frequently. Is there a specific duration on the awards? So it's a great question. So there's no specific duration, like it needs to have started in the past 2 years or anything. What we do ask is that the initiative is either still active or actively benefiting the people that it was intended to benefit. So maybe it was a workplace initiative you started in 2015, but it's still active or it's still been updated since then. And so it's still eligible, but it can't be something that finished 5 years ago and it's kind of not being run anymore. We do want something that's still actively being implemented. Company CEO outside Asia becomes signatory. I can answer that in a minute. Okay, let me go on for a little bit and I'll come back to some of the questions in a bit. Why apply? I hope everyone still sees the value in it and the interest, but it's really one of the best ways we've found for companies in the region to demonstrate leadership, also build credibility and fast track their agenda and gain really great visibility. We need more best practices from Asia Pacific, I think, coming to the surface, and we know that there's a lot of great momentum happening. So it's really one of the best regional platforms we've found for companies to showcase their work. All applicants get access to a self-diagnostic tool, which is free anyways, anytime, and I can always send the link to that. You join a global peer network of 6,500 companies and get tapped into the WEPs community, and I'll show you the website in a minute. Also for awardees, there's worldwide recognition on UN Women websites and social media channels. And the top regional awardees will get testimonial videos created and champions profiles created. Okay, let me go through the application process first, and then I'll come back to some of the questions I see asked in the chat. So the application process is all done on the website, and the main application is in English, but we also have it available in a few other select languages where our countries are present. Unfortunately, we do have a limited amount of translations, but I hope that in the future we can accommodate even more. And so all done on the website. So the application has 3 parts, and each applicant can apply for up to 2 categories. You just submit 1 application. So 3 parts. Part 1 asks you about basic information about applicant details. Part 2 is general questions. So these are multiple choice questions that are the ones that assess your kind of internal policies and practices. And these are aligned to the WEPs. So they're going to ask you things about leadership commitments, women in leadership roles, women in management, also some workplace policies, health and safety policies, also asking about marketplace and supplier diversity programs, community initiatives. So different questions here, and I'll show you what it looks like in a minute. And then part 3 is where you actually write open-ended answers about the categories that you select, where you tell us all about your initiative and what you've done, and write in all the details of your initiative. And so in part 2 and 3, we do ask that you upload supporting documents to provide verification for the answers that you give. And we accept a wide range of documents. And then we also give you some tips throughout the application of which ones are accepted. So I might just go ahead. I'm going to stop sharing for a second just so I make sure that it transitions correctly. I'm going to take you to the website quickly just to show you what the application actually looks like in detail so you can see it. Let me zoom in a bit. So this is our lovely WEPs Awards website, where you can find all information, frequently asked questions. You can see past awardees, our past judges, all about how to join the WEPs. And then also the application. Okay, so when you go to this, apply page, there we go. Wait, I think I lost it. Okay, it should be back now. So it has just the general information. We also have the application available to download in English or the other languages. And then there's also an application guidance you can download that provides a bit more details of what makes for a great application. So I'm going to click on English to start my application. And so let's start over. So here it's just going to give me an overview again of the different categories. And then next, I'm going to go to part 1, where it's just going to ask me the basic information, company name, industry, location, self-employed, some other basic questions. It asks if you're a WEP signatory, yes, no. Have you taken the WEP's gender gap analysis tool, which is the self-assessment tool? Yes, no. This is just for us to collect information, not for any assessment. And also just to answer one question I see in the chat, you don't need to be a membership of Global Compact Network. No, not at all. Okay, so I go to part 2. So these are the general questions, and what you'll see here, which is important to take note of, is part 2 is only worth 25% of the total score, because we are asking quite a few detailed questions about your internal policies, and we know that every company is at a different stage. So we do take it into account as part of the score so that we are awarding companies that are overall taking good steps for gender equality. But we don't want to completely advantage really large corporates that already have a well-established baseline for these policies. So this asks things like the percentage of women in management. It's also going to ask about whether you have policies in place on a gender equality action plan, and then you can kind of choose different options that you might have. And then we do always ask you to upload files to support your answer. So if you're a small organization, or you just have, let's say for this question, let's just take it as an example. So gender equality action plan, let's say that I select, we've started some activities for gender equality, but we don't yet have a written commitment. I'm just a small SME. I don't have a full policy yet. You do still need to upload a file, but what you can do is just write in a Word document explaining what your activities have been, right? You can explain, we have done XYZ. You can send links if you have any like Facebook or other social media coverage of the events, and then you can just upload that Word file. So we really do want to make it as inclusive as possible. To just even upload that Word file. But if you are a company, a larger corporate that has a full gender equality action plan, you have a work plan for the year of activities, we do ask that you upload that to support your answers. Because what we do is go back and actually verify all of these answers. So another example on maternity, if you select yes, our company is above ILO's convention on 14 weeks and you specify the number of days, we want to see evidence. If you're answering D, this selecting this answer, we do want to see some evidence that you actually have this many days of maternity leave provided. So it's going to go through different questions like this. I know this part seems intimidating, but don't worry. We do, the barrier is it's not as bad as it seems, and we do make sure to be quite inclusive. And so for the SMEs who predominantly have no as their answers, maybe they just have not established a lot of this yet, they're going to go in this special pool for the SME champions where we can still make sure they're recognized. Yeah, so a question on this, Sharish is asking before we, can we get our submissions checked by someone before the final submission so that we get to know if we've provided enough evidence? You can, yes. We do have a contact email on the website. The other thing I would say is you can, once you submit, we'll already start to review it and check it, and we will get back to you to ask for more evidence before we consider the submission closed. We do often do that where we go through and start to check, and then we get back in touch to make sure that there's enough evidence. But also in the application guidance that you can download, there's also some tips on what counts as really strong and good evidence. And so once I'm finished with part 2, I'm going to go to next. Oh, sorry. In part 1, I need to go select the categories I want to apply for. Yeah, if you're an individual entrepreneur, what you would just choose in number of employees, you could say self-employed. You could just select it there, and that would be fine. And then also, we do go through all of these by hand, and so definitely an individual entrepreneur for part 2 would have to select a lot of no answers, right, which might get a lower score. But we would take into account, we would see, oh, this person is an individual entrepreneur, and so we would make sure that we kind of put you in a special category so that you're not being judged against the larger corporates. That explains a little bit. So I'm going to select my categories in part 1, gender inclusive workplace and leadership. So then when I get to part 3, it's already going to have these ready for me to fill in. So leadership commitment, it's going to tell me the category again. It's going to ask for my date of birth just so we can confirm the right age. A brief summary just in 50 words of the initiative. And then for each of the part 3 categories, we ask for the same kind of 3 sections. There's background and context, which is 400 words. And for this, if you can try to answer these 3 guiding questions as directly as possible, that always helps. Where you're saying, why did you start this initiative? What was the challenge happening in your community, in your organization, in your country that you saw that you wanted to address? And then if it's for leadership, it needs to be specifically about what that individual did to drive forward the initiative and how they took action. And then a section on key actions taken and lessons learned. So we provide a bit more word count for this. And again, try and use the word count. Don't write only 200 words. A good application will try and fill up and use the word count and detail the key actions that have been taken Also, if there were any partnerships engaged in or collaborations you used. We also want to hear about challenges that you might have encountered in implementation and how you're overcoming those, or any plans to overcome them, or key lessons learned from having gone through those challenges. And then the final section is results and sustainability. And so this is also probably one place to note that we're not really looking for initiatives that just started. You know, even if it's a fantastic idea, and we of course commend those, we really want to be able to see that there have been some results achieved already with projects that are potentially being awarded. So if you're just launching a project later this year, it might be better for the awards next year. Yeah, so key results to date, if you can put in any specific data, as specific as possible, is always best. How you determine success, are you tracking it, are you reporting it? And then also we want to see how you're planning to take this forward or continue it or deepen it, to make sure that you're not just kind of letting it go. And then for part 3, supporting documents can be really, really creative. This can be, you can send us links to Google Drive with video clips that you have made, or news clips or media clips. This can be links to Facebook events or initiatives or pictures or news articles. It can range in anything from a corporate report to a very informal kind of news article. And you can upload multiple files in this part here. And so yes, then I would fill out the same for my second category. And then the very final part, to answer someone's question at all of the data is kept completely confidential. No, it's never public. Your data only comes to us at UN Women, and the full data is only used for the shortlisting purposes. And so, yeah, so all of the data is kept confidential. I'm going to share the PowerPoint again quickly, just so I can go to one other point on that, and a bit on the PowerPoint slideshow. Yes, okay. Let me go back quickly. Okay. Okay, everyone's seeing this slide for the scoring process, correct? Just want to double check. Yes, scoring process, you can see it? Okay. Okay, I think so, yes. So basically, the full application that you submit, because sometimes we do ask for copies of internal policies, or your actual specific like sexual harassment policy, we need to see to verify the answer. And so all of these answers and documents for part 2 are only seen by UN Women. We do a shortlisting process where we verify the part 2 answers, and we also verify and score the part 3 answer. And then the top shortlists go to an external panel of judges who are actually the ones that determine the winners. And the judges only see part 3 of the answer. They don't also have all of that information on your internal policies and procedures. We only use that for shortlisting. So it goes to that final panel of judges to actually determine the winners. And then again, the score is 25% determined by part 2, those internal policies and practices, and 75% of the weight is given to your part 3 initiative for what you've actually been doing. Okay, I think that explains most of the process. I can always take everyone back to the website. Let me go over first some of the frequently asked questions, and if they've already been answered, we can skip over them, and then there might have been 1 or 2 I haven't answered yet that we'll make sure we get to everyone's questions. Okay, so we've gone through that, application and judging. Yeah, and just to reiterate this again, can I apply if I've not implemented gender equality initiative in all areas of the WEPs? Yes, totally. If you've first heard about the WEPs today, or you have one specific initiative working with women in your local community, totally fine. Still apply. You know, again, we've had companies that really had thought they had no shot, and we convinced them to apply, and then they ended up being awarded because they had done so much great work. So yes, please still do apply. In my company, we get this question quite often. Can we apply as a regional office for initiatives implemented in several country branches? If you're a multinational, yes, you can. You do have to select a country that you're applying from when you fill out the application. But what you could do is just select the country where your office is located that you're applying from. And then in the title, you could just list regional office. And then you could include the results for an initiative that was potentially rolled out in Malaysia, Philippines, or Thailand, for example. But for all other applications, we're looking for country-specific applications. So if you are a large corporate based in Thailand, we want you to apply for the initiative rolled out in Thailand. Okay, no fee. Yes, we do get this question a lot as well. Is there any fee to join the WEPs or the WEPs Awards? No. Joining the WEPs is completely fee-free, and there's no commitment or obligation to reporting or to disclose any information or undertake any certain actions, and no fee again as well with the WEPs Awards. Okay, we do get this question quite often as well. Can I apply this year if I applied or won last year? You can apply again. Certainly, if you were awarded either in 2021 or 2020, you can still apply, and we do encourage it. You just either need to apply with a different initiative than the one that you were awarded for, or if you're applying with the same initiative, the results need to be significantly enhanced, or you needed to have added some new adaptations or scale to the initiative. Well, it's strange. I think that was the end of the Q&A that I had in the PowerPoint. Okay, any more questions that we have now that I haven't answered? It's a lot of information all at once, I know. Oh, I do see someone had asked earlier, where will the awards giving ceremony be held? They'll be virtual. So we will have country ceremonies celebrated in our 7 implementing countries for our UN Women program. And some of them may be in person, but some virtual, but the regional ceremony that will be held in November will be all virtual, and it will be open to anyone to join. Okay.
So I have a question. This is not directly linked to the awards. I think once we start responding to the applications and filling up, we may have some questions, and we'll come back to you. So if there's someone we can contact in case we have any questions or clarifications when we start applying for the awards. My second question was on the signatory process. We would definitely want to explore that, for becoming a signatory for the WEPs. How do I get the process started?
Yes, fantastic question. That's a great question. Okay, let me, oops. Okay, that's a great question. I'm going to take you just quickly, yes, to the Global WEPs Awards website. So I put in the chat, I hope everybody saw it. You can contact weempower.asia@unwomen.org if you have any questions on the application process. And we're happy to guide you through it or answer any other questions. And then joining the WEPs. So I hope everyone can see that global, this is the weps.org website. And so this is how you go through the process of joining the WEPs. So on this website, I'll just show you quickly as well, since we have some time too. This is where you can see all WEP signatories. So there's 6,554 right now. You can also filter by region and by country to see what other organizations have joined in your country. And then I'll just pick one randomly here. Yes, let's see. So once you join the WEPs, every company gets a company profile where you have a CEO picture and a quote, and then information about the company. And then if you want to report on any gender indicators, you can. So joining is a fairly easy process. It's done on this website. Sorry, just a second. Let me log out of my account so you can see. Okay. So joining is the first thing that needs to happen. Let me make sure I have a copy, is signing the CEO statement of support. So This statement of support basically is a commitment made by the CEO to aspire to and commit to the women's empowerment principles. It's not a legal binding document. We do sometimes find that companies, hesitate and they're like, oh, I don't want to sign on to this and commit to it. It is a high level commitment, but it's not a binding document or an obligation on reporting. But it does need to be signed by the CEO or the person with highest decision-making authority in that specific office. So it might be the managing director or otherwise. And so they sign this document, and then on the website, you fill out an application, and you fill out the information about the CEO. You upload a photo and a CEO quote about why they wanted to commit to and join the Women's Empowerment Principles. And then you choose a primary contact and then a secondary contact, which would be the ones that would get information about the WEPs and through the approval process. Some basic information about the company that we ask for. And then these are baseline indicators that all applicants are obliged to fill out. So percentage of women employees, women at management level. There's a question on financial contribution, yes or no. You can answer if you have a gender action plan, and then you can submit. And then it usually takes about 1 week to 10 business days to get the application processed. And then once you officially become a signatory, then you're published on this global signatories page. And one other thing, once you're locked in and part of the community, which we have, also in these resources,
Hello, Kali.
we've just been very happy to recently upload a lot of WEPs Awards champions profiles of some of our past winners. So on the global website, let me see, I'm hearing a bit of background from someone. I'm just going to mute, forgive me. There's lots of different kind of assets and resources that companies can use. And so we have WEPs case studies, which are case studies we create about different companies implementing the WEPs. We recently uploaded this one about TCE in India. And so this is a case study that lives on the global website. And we do also have a new section for our WEPs awardees. And so on this page as well, let me get the WEPs Awards profiles. I'm going to send this in the chat. Sorry, the link is quite long, but you can also just go to weps.org/resources and then filter by category. And so here we've uploaded, we don't have our 2021 up yet. We have 2020 Asia-Pacific Regional Awardee profiles. And so these are profiles of our different 18 of our 2020 regional winners, where you can read about the work that they've done and why they won. So another great benefit of joining the WEPs community as well and participating in the WEPs Awards.
Okay, so one last question. This definitely sounds interesting and something which aligns with our organization's principles as well. So the CEO of our organization is not based in Asia, though we have very large operations across many countries in Asia. So do we still, can he still become a signatory?
Yes, for sure you can, yes. So okay, there's a few different options for becoming a signatory. So the headquarters of a company or where it's based can sign as a signatory, and perhaps they're located in, it could be in Europe or North America or any country where they're located. They could sign for that country, but then they could commit to implement in several different countries where they may not have CEO level offices. So you can do that. If you have an actual office established in Thailand or India or Bangladesh that has like a managing director of that specific office, we would also request that you become a signatory in that country. So it can be a bit confusing sometimes, but yeah, you can become so just for example, I know that they have quite a large presence, just to show you. So Unilever is a signatory in 11 different countries. So they can sign as Unilever HQ, but then they can also sign at individual country level where the CEO of Unilever Pakistan would make the commitment or Unilever Uruguay would make the commitment, which just kind of stronger shows, yeah, the local commitment.
Okay, thank you so much. That's very helpful.
Okay, any other questions? We do have 10 minutes, but I can let everyone early go if they'd like. Just trying to see if any other questions came through.
Hi, Amy. I have a question.
Yes.
Hi, mabuhay. I'm from the Philippines. So actually it was last year that I officially started Women in Tourism to really focus, and that's why I get to be familiar with WEP because it was part of the principles that's being introduced in the Women in Tourism. But prior last year, I have different involvements with different companies. Will that be counted, if ever,
For
like
for
for the initiatives? Will that
you
be
mean
counted?
that you did last year?
No. Things that I've done prior Women in Tourism, but it's still towards training women, the rural community, supporting their social enterprises. So it's more on like capacity building and also marketing for them.
Yes, certainly. Yeah, that would certainly still apply for sure. Yes, for sure. Yes,
So
definitely.
that would be good. Thank you for that. Because something of just to share, one thing that I noticed is like in the Philippines, not so many companies and even government officials already know WEP. And like this year, the UNWTO launched the gender mainstreaming guidelines for private businesses, and they specifically again identified the 7 principles. And I was like asking our government leaders and all the businesses that I'm acquainted with, they're like, hey, do you know about this? Like, what's that? So there's really it really gave me this idea that first awareness must be made. I mean,
Yeah. Yes, and with the WEPs Awards, we hope to do more of that as well. Yes, and I'll link you also in with our local Philippines team as well, to make sure they can, to make sure they can support you as well if you have any other questions.
Okay. So last question, for the Philippine team, will it be possible, like if we invite them to give a talk, what is WEP? Because I'm having a webinar soon this June for Women in Tourism Circle. It's the social professional club that we started. So we like have virtual meetups and all other things to support women and what they're going through. Okay.
Yes, I imagine they would for sure. Yes, I'll make sure I put you in touch after the meeting.
Yes. Thank you very much, Amy. Maraming salamat. That's how we say thank you in the Philippines.
No problem. Thanks. Great. Okay, any other questions? I don't know if there were any questions that popped up on the Facebook live stream. Maybe not. Okay, there's nothing else in the chat. If I don't see any other questions, I'll just type in one more time the website where everyone can go to apply. And applications are open through June 30th, and we're always available to help guide you through the applications. Maybe one other link I will put in, if anyone is curious to browse and watch, we do have a We Empower Asia playlist on YouTube, where we feature lots of different clips from throughout our program, but we also have testimonial videos from the past winners. So you can see what they've been doing in some of the different countries and also at regional level, if you'd like to check out some of the different winners. So that's also another great resource to look through and and learn more about the program and the awards and the WEPs as well. Okay, I think since I don't see any more questions popping up, thank you everyone for joining us today. I'm glad to see so much interest. And I saw one other comment. Yes, and please do get in touch with us if you have any other questions. We're here to support. And we will also be holding a few more information sessions before applications close if you know any others who are interested to join. So thank you once again. Have a fantastic rest of the week, and we look forward to receiving your applications. Thanks, everyone.